Hello, my name is Cecilia Pardo and I'm the curator of the Peru and Andean World Permanent Display in the Living and Dying Gallery at the British Museum. This gallery explores how people from different parts of the world deal with the tough realities of life and death. Peru and the Andean world is about how societies have successfully adapted to the environments of the Pacific Ocean and the high steep mountains in this region. People have adapted and managed to thrive in the diverse landscape over thousands of years, developing specific ways of living and understanding the world around them. A series of societies have lived in this region over time, including Chavin, Nazca, Wari, Chimu, or the Inca, before the arrival of the Spanish in the mid-16th century. The objects displayed here were produced in the actual territories of modern Peru and Bolivia. People still living in these countries see many of the objects displayed here as living beings, playing active roles in special ceremonies of healing and securing balance in the world. This display has been possible thanks to the valuable support of Madeleine Osterling-Letts, Macarena and Cristina Rojas Osterling, alongside the continued support of PROMPERU in creating the display and promoting the Peru program. The case has been organized in 6 case studies incorporating objects from different periods and places, and they all form part of the British Museum collections. During pre-colonial times, Andean societies created around 2 million acres of agricultural land high up in the mountains. They are called andenes. This feat of engineering allowed them to grow a great variety of crops in different ecological zones to provide food for growing populations. These techniques and skills are still used by modern farmers today. Manuel Choque is a farmer from Cusco, and he works in the sacred valley of the Incas, where he uses ancient techniques to preserve the production of native potatoes and maize. This display case includes objects that were used in special ceremonies to honor Pachamama, or Mother Earth. These ceremonies take place to celebrate the land and encourage the fertility of the land. This is an Inca pacha, a ceremonial object used in fertility rituals. It has been modeled in the form of 3 key elements of the agricultural cycle: the plow to prepare the soil, the crop that is being grown, in this case a maize, and finally the Inca urpu, a typical Inca container to hold chicha, the fermented beer made from maize. The Nazca Desert in southern Peru is one of the most arid places on the planet. Between 200 BC and 650 AD, the Nazca peoples created and developed a series of ceremonies to ensure good supplies for water and agriculture. These people drew massive lines and images in the desert, extending around 500 square kilometers. Geoglyphs were considered sacred spaces where people performed ceremonies. There are hundreds of different types of geoglyphs, and they are best seen from the air. Maize, beans, and chili peppers are sources of a healthy diet in the Andes. The Nazca peoples, as many other societies, depicted images of these food types on their ceremonial vessels as a way of evoking fertility and well-being for their society. Objects like this were used at fertility events which took place in the geoglyphs, but also in funerary offerings. Images featured in Nazca art were painted with plant and mineral pigments on clay before the vessel was fired in the oven. Textile weaving is very important to Peruvian identity, and it's one of the oldest traditions that goes back more than 5,000 years. Men and women have been weaving using different techniques and materials directly connected to the land, including cotton, llama wool, and natural dyes. Nereida Apasa used the Andean tradition of telling stories with textiles to reflect and critique different aspects of Peruvian society. These cloaks behind me were produced for negreria dances, which take place in Peru's central highlands. The dances where these cloaks are used combine indigenous Afro-Peruvian and Catholic traditions. These cloaks depict images of Peruvian history, including emblems and heroes from the past. The cloak by Nereida Apasa is inspired by these negreria cloaks. Peru's emblem is embroidered on the cloak. Instead of displaying traditional symbols, Apasa has incorporated references to literature addressing different political topics. The sea next to the Peruvian coast is one of the richest marine ecosystems in the world, mainly due to the plankton brought by the cold waters of the Humboldt Current. This plankton provides food for different species of fish. The marine life is used for food and medicine by Peruvians. Climate change and illegal fishing pose serious threats to this ecosystem. In the vessels displayed in this display case, we can see a group of Nazca vessels with different representations of fish, seabirds, and even fishermen, which talks about the importance of the resources brought by the Pacific Ocean to these societies. Coastal societies have been using reed boats for transport and for fishing for over 3,000 years. Victor Huamanchumo is a fisherman who lives in the village of Huanchaco in the north coast of Peru. And his technique, which is beautifully described in this video, talks about all the techniques that he has inherited from past societies like the Moche and the Chimu. In this video, produced for the exhibition Peru, A Journey in Time, which was presented at the British Museum in 2021, Victor Huamanchumo explains that his specialized skills and knowledge of reed boat making has been handed down by his ancestors through generations, as we can see in the iconography of the objects displayed here. Another important theme in the Andean region that we have decided to portray in this display case is the nature and significance given to certain sea mollusks like Spondylus and Strombus. In the past, these seashells were valued in the Central Andean region as highly as gold and silver. They were found off the coasts of Ecuador in warm and deep waters, but moved south towards the north of Peru with the El Niño events, which took place every 4 years. Only skilled divers trained for a long time were able to collect these sacred offerings, and they were associated with the coming of rains and with fertility. This Chimu tunic has been decorated with fish appliques, finely carved in Spondylus and Strombus shell. Both materials and iconography are related to the richness of the Pacific Ocean. Small funerary attires, possibly connected to the burial of young children, suggest that social roles were not gained during life in pre-Columbian societies, but rather passed down through inheritance. The British Museum would like to thank all of the collaborators of this project.